About 2 hours later, a very dishevelled and exhausted man arrived at the oasis and threw himself down in the shade of the palm trees, wheezing and sweating. He looked like a boiled beetroot. "You were following us," Roger the Fox told him. "Why? Do you have any food?" the distraught man asked. "Prawn sandwich, perhaps?" "Certainly not," Clara Sahara said. "I'm a vegan." "And I'm a writer," the writer said, as if that was relevant. "Would you care for a date?" Roger the Fox asked. "I don't go out with foxes," the man said, horrified. "A date to eat, Billy silly," Clara Sahara told him, and gave him one. "How about a gin and tonic with ice and lemon?" the man asked when he had gratefully eaten the date, but Clara Sahara just gave him a withering look. "Don't vegans drink alcohol?" the man asked. "Probably not if they're little girls," Roger the Fox told him. Duh! This guy really was a dunderhead. "Who are you and why are you following us?" the writer demanded, trying to look and sound tough. But it didn't really work because he was hiding behind Clara Sahara. "My name is Wolfgang V. Gobble III, the man said, proudly puffing up his chest, which was mostly made of wobbly tummy. "That's quite a silly name," Clara Sahara observed. "My friends call me Wolf because I'm such a ferocious businessman." "We'll call you Gobble," Roger the Fox decided. "Or Gobbler, maybe. The Gobster?" "I've thought of another one," the writer said, pleased with himself. "Cross that out," said Roger the Fox. "It's too rude." The writer did as he was told. Then he turned to Wolfgang V. Gobble III and again demanded, "Why are you following us?" "I work for the humongous, mega big, really quite large indeed corporation," Wolfgang V. Gobble III said, and offered Clara Sahara a gold business card with his name on it in big, bold letters. "That's the biggest corporation in the whole wide world," the writer said, because even he had heard of humongous. They own almost everything. "One day," Wolfgang V. Gobble III said, "we will own absolutely everything." "Not foxes, surely?" Roger the Fox asked. "Everything, furball." "What do you want with us?" Clara Sahara asked. "With you, Clara Sahara," Wolfgang V. Gobble III said. "Not the mangy little fox and the dopey guy." "Humph," Roger the Fox said, folding his paws over his chest. "How dare you?" the writer snapped. "I'll have you know I've been to university." "I think that's like bigger than Big Sister School," Clara Sahara explained helpfully. "We need a superhero," Wolfgang V. Gobble III carried on, ignoring Roger the Fox and the writer, "to help us build the biggest sandcastle theme park you can imagine right here in the Sahara Desert. We will fly in thousands and thousands of visitors every year, selling buckets of junk food, cola and plastic souvenir tat, even souvenir sand. We will make a fortune, obscene amounts of money." "What about the plants and animals who live here?" Roger the Fox asked, shocked. "Well, they won't be able to live here much longer, will they?" Wolfgang V. Gobble III said. "They're already struggling, and once we've piled the sand up, there won't be enough water for any of them." And why exactly is that?" the writer demanded. "Climate change," Clara Sahara remembered. "And who is causing climate change?" "Big business," Roger the Fox said. "And who is the biggest business of all?" the writer continued. "The humongous, mega big, really quite large indeed corporation," Wolfgang V. Gobble III said proudly. "And," Clara Sahara added, "they're not very nice, are they? I looked online." "When?" the writer puzzled. "Just before you wrote it down," Clara Sahara said. "You'll be the greatest hero the world has ever known, Clara," said Wolfgang V. Gobble III temptingly. "The sandcastle will be a monument to your superpower. Everybody in the whole world will know your name." "Will I have chocolate fairy cakes?" Clara Sahara asked. "More than you could ever eat." "And ice cream?" "Mountains of ice cream, every possible flavor and then some." "Vegan?" "Naturally." "Will there be enough for my big sister as well, and for my mummy and daddy?" "Plenty plus. You can all eat until you are as fat as Porky Pigs." "Clara Sahara," the writer said pleadingly, reading what he was writing and looking absolutely stunned. "Please," Roger the Fox said, wringing his paws together. Just sign here, Wolfgang V. Gobble III said, taking a contract out of the inside pocket of his jacket and offering it to Clara Sahara along with a pen made of real gold. Fresh ripe strawberries, Clara Sahara checked. Until they're coming out of your ears, Wolfgang V. Gobble III promised, each one as sweet as a sugar lump. Clara Sahara accepted the contract and the gold pen from the grinning executive, and everyone waited, holding their breath. Wolfgang V. Gobble III mopped a little sweat from his brow with his knotted and stained silk handkerchief. Roger the Fox hid behind his brush, peeping out at his superhero partner. Just a little girl who liked sweet things and loved her family, after all. And the writer sat with his mouth hanging open, fingers poised over the keys of his pad. They waited and sweated and waited again, hot and damp and sticky. Hum. Wolfgang B. Gobble III cleared his throat, making his many chins dance like a turkey's wattles. I can't write, Clara Sahara said. I'm only 3. Just across, Wolfgang V. Gobble III wheedled. Think of the huge sandcastle, the fame, the fortune. You horrible gobbler, Roger the Fox yelled, leaping to his feet and advancing on Wolfgang V. Gobble III. I've a good mind to bite your bottom. If you do, Wolfgang V. Gobble III said, brandishing his telephone threateningly, humongous lawyers will take you to court and take away your den, your puddings, and everything. Then they'll have you thrown in jail until your fur turns as white as snow and your foxy teeth fall out. Roger the Fox gulped, frozen in his tracks. This will not stand, the writer cried. I'm writing this story and I won't let you. Check your keyboard, Wolfgang V. Gobble III sneered. I can't write anything, the writer said. The keypad is frozen. Oh, Wolfgang V. Gobble III mocked. Guess who makes the software and which corporation controls the internet? You fiend, the writer yelped. You cad, Roger the Fox yelled. Blighter! Rotter! Sticks and stones may break my bones, Wolfgang V. Gobble III recited mockingly, but words will never hurt me. Do you know anything about goats? Clara Sahara said. Wolfgang V. Gobble was caught off guard. No, actually I don't, no. Never mind, Clara Sahara said. I'm sure Malik will teach you. He's a very nice man. We don't have time for this goatiness, Wolfgang V. Gobble III ranted angrily. Oh, but I can make time for anything, Clara Sahara said modestly. We need to get moving on this giant sandcastle scam, Wolfgang V. Gobble III raged. Use your powers to get it finished before we even start building it. You are going to stay here for a while, Clara Sahara told him, and learn about the desert, the plants and the animals and the people, the sand and the drought, and how to make it greener. Not blooming likely, Wolfgang V. Gobble III growled. If you're trying to leave, Clara Sahara continued, I will know, and I will be there before you to make sure that you cannot go anywhere, not until you totally understand. You can't do this, Wolfgang V. Gobble III roared. Where is your phone? Clara Sahara asked innocently. Oh, look, I have it here. And the writer has already sent a message to your boss at Humongous, telling her about your change of heart and the change of plan. Have I? The writer asked, looking puzzled at the state-of-the-art mobile phone that he suddenly held in his hands. Can't you read? Clara Sahara asked him. Oh, yes, said the writer, reading the reply he had received to the text he had sent for Wolfgang V. Gobble III. Your boss says that green in the desert is an inspired idea, a stroke of genius on your part. She did? Indeed she did, yes. Well, Wolfgang V. Gobble III licked his fleshy lips and began to smile a greedy smile. Do I get a raise in my already astronomical salary? More money to spend on more things? She says, and I quote, the writer reported back, You're sacked, you twit. You're wolfless. Among Us is about selling the world, not blinking saving it. There was a noise like a bag of jelly hitting an elephant's bottom. The gobbly one has fainted, Roger the Fox reported, at the same time checking the businessman's pulse with a gentle paw to make sure he was okay. I think he will like milking goats and living with Malik's clan, Clara Sahara said. Once he gets used to it, maybe he'll learn an instrument and lose a little weight. What about you? Roger the Fox asked. What are you going to do, Clara Sahara? You're not going to build his giant sandcastle, are you? The writer asked, because he was not very quick on the uptake. We're all going to see the leaders of every country in the world, Clara Sahara told her two friends, to tell them what Malik and Daphne have told us. The writer will write brilliant reports, and you, my bushy superhero sidekick, will make wily fox arguments to make them stop climate change. And what will you do? The writer asked, desperately trying to read what he had already not yet written as he spelled out Clara Sahara's answer, which he knew before she told him because he wrote the story. Didn't he? If the world leaders won't listen to Roger and don't read your reports, Clara Sahara said, I will use my greatest superpower. No, Roger the Fox said in a shocked whisper. You can't hit them with... With what? The writer asked, his finger poised. But Clara Sahara just gave him her sweetest, most sparkling smile. I've got it, the writer shouted. You'll lose your temper. Like you would not believe, Clara Sahara said, demonstrating by clenching her fists and turning scarlet, steam pouring out of her ears. We've got this, Roger the Fox said confidently. The governments and mega corporations of the world won't have a chance against small girl tantrum power. Look out, bad guys everywhere, the writer wrote. Here we come.